So if you've been on Osu Twitter recently, you've probably seen a bunch of people arguing about this video.
Osu is a waste of time. You should quit the game and play something else. Don't you ever look at the global leaderboards and see the same people at the top? Or what's even more saddening, kids younger than you zooming past the competition and solidifying their dominance as some of the best players in the game. What I'm trying to say here is you'll basically never make it.
So essentially an Osu YouTuber just made a video saying that Osu is essentially just a waste of time, and unless you're gifted in the art of clicking circles, that you should probably just give up and stop playing. I mean, there's a lot more depth to it than that, but that's essentially the main point of the video. He talks a lot about how if you're 4-digit, 5-digit, even 3-digit, then you're probably not going to ever have any chance to be as good as Imrek or any of the other top players who are currently just destroying what we thought was humanly possible. So from what I can understand, the reason that this video sort of started to become a topic on Osu Twitter is because of a tweet by Xylus where he kind of throws shade at the title of that video and then says, "I wouldn't trade these moments for anything else in the world," posting a compilation of his pop-offs. He then replies with a follow-up tweet that ends with, "Leave people's passion the fuck alone." Now, he didn't directly reference or link the video in any way, but it was kind of obvious what he was talking about. Arian, the creator of the video, quote retweets Xylus' tweet saying, "It's not a waste of time for you because you actually made it." And the demographic that he's talking to in this video is 4, 5, and 6 digits who will never be as good as a top player. Xylus responds to this just basically saying that his success has nothing to do with his enjoyment for the game. This whole specific interaction just kind of ends with a bunch of people on Twitter basically just dogpiling on Arian for his takes, including some people giving a thoughtful opinion and others just saying you're a loser. There were some other pretty prominent people in the Osu community talking about this too. We have Karyu saying that there is some truth in the video, but it's actually just a lot of yapping, and the video was in general an embarrassment to watch. There's people like -Gien kind of just making an entire joke of the situation and not treating it seriously at all. Something I wanted to note is that while it does seem like the majority of people disagree with the message of this video, Arian's original response tweet to Xylus does have close to 300 likes, which I think is proof that there are some people who are agreeing with him. Anyways, there's probably a lot more about the actual drama side of this that I could talk about, but I'm not really interested in it. I think this whole Twitter arguing thing kind of sparks an interesting discussion, and I'd like to talk about it a little bit. So the main premise of this video just seems to be that if you're not already a top player or showing top player potential, then playing Osu is just a waste of time for you, because realistically, you're never ever going to get to the top 10, top 100, top 1000, whatever number it may be. Now, I do agree that it's pretty unrealistic to assume that you're capable of getting top 100, top 1000 if you've already put thousands of hours into the game and you're still stuck in like 5-digit, and I'm one of these people. I think that when you look at the patterns of top players, it's pretty evident that most of them are very, very young, and they probably have very good genetics tailored to Osu. And I know genetics this, genetics that. It's an excuse that a lot of people say, and I don't necessarily agree with using it as an excuse, but I think denying that it's an important factor in Osu improvement is pretty naive. Now, despite this being the case, I do think that it's also very naive to say Osu is a waste of time because you have no potential. I think this entire argument just completely disregards playing for fun as a viable option, and I know so many people who just play Osu for fun and don't really care about being the best or gaining ranks or any of that stuff. And I saw this sentiment echoed a lot on Twitter in the tweets that I was referring to a little bit ago. I personally think that saying Osu is a waste of time just because you understand your own limitations is pretty close-minded, honestly, and I disagree with that idea. You wouldn't tell someone to stop playing basketball just because they're not 7 foot tall and never going to make it to the NBA. And for the same reason, I don't think you should tell people to stop playing Osu just because they're probably pretty unlikely to make it to top 10 or top 100. Like, sure, if every single person who played Osu had the goal of becoming the best player in the world, then maybe it would be advisable to tell them that it's not worth playing, but I think that acting like that's the case is very unrealistic. Even for people who are very competitive and want to rank up and want to get better, it doesn't necessarily mean that they're comparing themselves to top players. Like myself, for example, I consider myself very competitive and I'm still trying to get better at Osu every day. I don't compare myself to people like Imrek, people like Ivaxa, people like White Cat. I compare myself to my own self from yesterday. Now, to give credit where credit's due, in the video, he does very briefly mention that if you like playing for fun or for whatever reason you like to play, that's completely fine. But he also then backtracks and says, for most people who want to get to the top, playing Osu is pointless, which I would argue is not the majority of people. And so I feel like this whole section is just a bit counterproductive. Now, I think there is room for discussion about what effect video games have on people's lives, and for a lot of people, video games are self-destructive and they are a waste of time, but I think that's not for other people to decide, and I just don't agree with telling people that, for all you know, have pretty satisfied lives, that they shouldn't be playing Osu because they're never going to be as good as top players. That being said, I am a little bit disappointed in the way that our community is talking about this and responding to this video and responding on Twitter to this guy. Now, I do agree that this video kind of missed the mark and was probably pretty off-putting for a lot of people, but I also don't think that it was necessarily made with malicious intent. Looking at Arian's Twitter, it says that he's 15 in his bio, and even for this community, I feel like that's pretty young. I don't think it's very helpful to be harassing him on Twitter just because he said something that was unpopular. That being said, I've never really watched any of his videos and I can't really say anything about him as a person, but for just some 15-year-old who makes Osu videos on the internet to just be harassed because he said something that was pretty unpopular, it just leaves a bad taste in my mouth and I just like to see less of it. Anyways, that's my opinion. You can agree with it or not. Let me know what you think in the comments. Now you might be thinking, whoa, Polars, hold on. Why did you just completely disappear off of the face of the earth for an entire year and then just randomly come back to talk about some really stupid Osu drama? To answer your question, honestly, I don't have a good answer. I just decided to do it randomly. And I don't know when the next video I'm making is going to be, but hopefully I don't disappear for another year. Who knows? Anyways, that's all. I'll see you guys later.